Hello and welcome to CMS Forex News. I'm market analyst Nick Nassad. Today is Thursday, February 12, 2009. In the Eurozone, industrial production fell 2.6% on the month in December and was down 12% on the year, which was the biggest annual drop on record. The monthly fall was the biggest in almost 20 years. Companies across Europe are cutting back on production as the global recession cuts demand for everything from cars to factory equipment. The euro-yen pair fell again overnight, extending its downward move this week following yesterday's somewhat sideways action. The euro was off 160 pips from its intraday high to test below the 115 level, though it did rebound in New York trading. In addition to the poor eurozone production data, the theme of investors seeking safe haven in the yen and dollar continued. Speculation is that the U.S. bank bailout and economic stimulus plans may fall short in pulling the U.S. out of recession. The pound dollar slid for a third session against the dollar, falling to test the 1.4135 level overnight. The UK economy is in a deep recession, Bank of England Governor King said yesterday, and interest rates are expected to keep coming down, in addition to the bank pumping money into the financial system through quantitative easing. The slide in the pound this week has amounted to almost 800 pips from our top seen on Monday to today's low. The number of total Americans collecting unemployment benefits rose for a fourth straight week, reaching a new record high of 4.81 million in the week ending January 31st. First-time claims for unemployment fell slightly by 6,000 to 623,000. Expectations were for a larger decline. The numbers underscore the weak condition of the U.S. labor market. U.S. retail sales rose in January, surprising expectations on the upside and halting a record 6-month slide in the index. Consumers spent more on gasoline as prices rose a little, but also bought more of other items such as clothing and food. The 1% rise in sales for January gains back only about one-third of the decline we saw in December, and with the economy in recession and layoffs continuing at a rapid pace, spending is sure to be weak in the months to come. As we mentioned before, demand for safe haven was a theme today, and the euro-dollar adhered to that theme. The pair, after setting a high near 1.2940 in early European trading, fell about 200 pips, falling below the support we saw this week around the 1.2850 zone. At 1.2720, the pair set a new low after it found support, which dates back to February 1st. From here, it paired some of its earlier losses. The dollar-yen pair, which fell to end yesterday's session and during today's Asian session, managed to rally in European trading. This set up sideways conditions as we retested yesterday's high. U.S. stocks were lower today as bank shares led the Dow Jones Index down, which stalled the dollar's rise, but despite the weak stocks, the greenback managed to hold on to its gains, at least as of 2:30 p.m. In other fundamental news, Australia's economy added 1.2 thousand jobs in January, surprising forecasts on the upside. Expectations had been for about a 20,000 jobs decline. The unemployment rate, however, rose to 4.8%, higher than expectations. That means that even though the economy created some jobs for the month, even more people entered the workforce, bringing up the total of people unemployed. In Japan, companies saw prices for goods fall 0.2% on the year in January, as prices fell 1% on the month, continuing a string of 6 months in a row of falling prices. The reduction in prices was led by a decline in energy, iron and steel, and other metals. Tonight, New Zealand will release its retail sales, and overnight, both the Eurozone and Germany released their first releases of fourth quarter GDP. Switzerland, meanwhile, releases its producer and import prices. Tomorrow, there's only one important fundamental release from the U.S., the UMich measure of consumer sentiment. Over the weekend, the finance ministers and central bankers from the 7 industrialized nations that make up the G7 meet to discuss a range of global economic issues that will touch on currency issues. And that wraps up this edition of our broadcast. Thank you for joining us here at CMSFX.com, and happy trading.